Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch, and welcome today to another list style video. You gotta love a list. If you love a list, then I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel by hitting the big button with the word subscribe on it. Today is my top 10 recommendations plus a couple of special mentions. If you're looking for a quartz watch and want to spend less than $1,000 US, there are options on today's list between $25 US and roughly $800 US. Now, quartz gets a hard time in the community. I think there is something of an anti-quartz snobbery around. People love to hate on the tech for some reason. It doesn't have the romance and the history of a mechanical watch movement, but it does have a lot of other things going for it instead, such as accuracy, reliability, accuracy, longevity, accuracy, low maintenance costs, and accuracy. Most quartz watches gain or lose as many seconds over the course of a month as most mechanical watches lose over the course of a day. And some quartz watches lose only a handful of seconds each year. And is accurate timekeeping not the reason why we aren't all wearing sundials? I'm not suggesting that you have to throw away all of your mechanical pieces. I am suggesting that quartz still very much has its place in the mix and should also have a place somewhere in your collection. Now, of the 10 watches on the list today, I have hands-on reviewing experience with 7 of them, so I can recommend them wholeheartedly. The others all have great reputations, so I feel confident in showing them to you. I'll leave links to all 10 watches in the order that I show them in the description of the video. This will give you a starting point, but obviously, if you're keen on one of these, find the best deal you can, your local region, your local currency, of course. These are in no particular order, by the way, other than the order that they came out of my head. Let's get on with it. And let's start with a watch that I am sure you will be familiar with, a watch available in both quartz and auto, and a watch where I recommend people buy the quartz rather than the auto because I've never been convinced that the value equation stacks up for the mechanical. It's the Tissot PRX. Love it or hate it, the PRX has been a huge affordable watch over the last 3 years, and when they launched it, or should that be relaunched it, back in 2021, Tissot launched it as a quartz. They only brought the Powermatic 80 version out about 6 months later. Because of the watch's success, you can now get the PRX in 2 different sizes and about 10 different colours at least. Personally, I bought the quartz versions of both the 35 and the 40mm. So why do I recommend the quartz rather than the auto? Well, have a look at this pricing. This is the official Tissot pricing, by the way. You should be able to shop around and get a chunk of money off that. But look, 610 Aussie dollars for the quartz, 1150 Aussie dollars for the auto, nearly twice the price. Same case, same crystal, same bracelet, same crown, same handset, same poor loom therefore. The automatic dials are a little bit fancier, but that's it. I don't think you're getting twice the watch when you pay twice the money. So do yourself a favour, buy the quartz, and then buy another watch with the money that you save. Moving on to number 2, it's a watch that really had to be on the list today and I think really should be in most people's collections. It's the Casio G-Shock. Now, you can substitute in any Casio G-Shock you like the look of. Personally, I've always really enjoyed the Square Gs, the 56 series. Digital watches are quartz watches. They just use their batteries to power an LCD display rather than moving hands. And in a watch designed to be beaten, almost begging to be beaten, you wouldn't want anything other than a quartz movement. I'm going to offer you 2 different choices here, either the classic DW5600E, which you can still buy all day long for around $40 US on Amazon.com. That is a ridiculous price. Or if you have a bit more to spend, then treat yourself to the GWM 5610. This one is solar powered, you'll never have to replace that built-in battery, and it's what Casio calls multi-band 6, meaning it automatically connects to the atomic clock on a daily basis to ensure it's always at exactly the right time. You won't see a mechanical watch do that, and it's still under $100. Either way, whatever you decide, these Square Gs are the quintessential G-Shock and a thoroughly appropriate application of quartz technology. At number 3, it's a bit of a rarity. It's a quartz diver from a micro brand. Now, there are plenty of quartz options from the big Japanese companies and a few from the Swiss, but what about one from the French? It's the Yema Navigraph Quartz. Now, I haven't specifically looked at this model, but I did review an automatic version a couple of years ago, and I really enjoyed it. It's a neat watch coming in at 39mm in diameter. It has a high quality bracelet with diver's extension, if you do actually want to get this one properly wet. Plus, it has a Marine Nationale tie in the French Navy, so it comes with military provenance and a Marine Nationale elastic strap. These are super comfy if you haven't tried one, by the way. Plus, this watch features another twist on quartz technology. It's powered by the Seiko VH31, which ticks 4 times per second, so it kind of looks like a mechanical if the single tick thing is a problem for you. The RRP on these is $449, but Yema always do deals. You should be able to get at least 10% off that by giving them your email address. Okay, next up, remember I said there were watches that gained or lost only a handful of seconds each year? Here is one of them. It's the Longines Conquest VHP. Now, VHP stands for very high precision. These are rated at plus or minus 5 seconds per year. Although there are usually a couple of conditions attached to that, like you have to wear the watch a certain number of hours per day to keep it in a certain temperature window. But even so, that is quite remarkable. As the owner of several high precision quartz myself, there is a delicious satisfaction from knowing that the time on your watch is the time, the actual time to the second, and will be next month and the following month as well. Now, these Conquest VHPs have apparently been discontinued. As such, it is getting harder to find them these days, but dig around on websites like JomaShop and you should be able to pick one up for under $800. There are a couple of different sizes as well as GMTs and chronograph variants if you want to spend a bit more. So you get the accuracy of high precision quartz with the cachet of a heritage Swiss brand like Longines, all for under $1,000. Seriously tempting. Okay, we've had one LCD digital watch. What about an LED digital watch from another member of the Swatch family with almost as much history as Longines? It's the Hamilton PSR. Now, I won't get into the backstory today. If you want to hear the backstory of this watch, click on my full review. I'll leave a link at the end of this video. The Hamilton Pulsar was the world's first digital LED watch back in the early 1970s. And a couple of years ago, they reissued essentially a version of the second Hamilton digital watch from 1973, but without the Pulsar name attached because it's owned by somebody else, as in Pulsar these days. When I reviewed this one, people scoffed at the price, but again, if you dig around on places like JomaShop, you can pick one up for $250 less than the RRP. I grant you, it's still over $500 US, but it is beautifully made. It's a Hamilton, it has sapphire crystal and decent water resistance, so you could totally wear this one as a long-term daily if you were so inclined. And it was a Bond watch to boot, appearing in a Roger Moore installment in the 1970s. I really enjoy mine. Special mention before I move on though to the Armatron Griffey, a budget legend that offers the fun, colourful LED watch for about 7% of the price of a Hamilton. It doesn't quite have the brand or the backstory or the build quality, but it is a lot of fun. I'll leave a link to the Griffey in the description of the video as well today. Okay, at number 6, it is the Cinderella Slipper of the watch world. A watch that is coveted by many, but sadly only fits a few. But if you are one of the lucky few with big flat wrists, what a watch. It's the Bulova Lunar Pilot. The Hamilton has a backstory to boast about, but even it retires meekly into the corner when the Lunar Pilot steps into the room, because the Lunar Pilot has actually been to the moon. There's a clue in the name. Again, I won't go into the full story, but I will leave a link at the end to my full review video. The Bulova went on an Apollo mission almost by accident in the 1970s and is one of a select few watches that has moonwalked. Now, that's pretty cool, but the watch itself is also fantastic. It looks great. It has one of Bulova's precisionist, ultra high frequency, high accuracy quartz chronographs in it. Plus, it's a bit of a bargain. These can be found here in Australia all day long for under $600, and in the States, $350 US. Problem is, it wears like a bit of a dinner plate, or perhaps that should be more of a saucer. Either way, sadly, too big for me and my average size wrist. No problem, Jody, they released a small one last year. Well, yes they did, but it still feels a bit too big for me, unfortunately, which leaves me as one of the ugly sisters, until they release an even smaller one Fingers crossed. At number 7, I could not make a video on the best affordable quartz without mentioning Citizen's EcoDrive technology. They have literally hundreds of watches utilizing EcoDrive, which is essentially a fancy name for solar quartz. Now, Seiko also do solar quartz, but I rate EcoDrive as being better than Seiko's technology. You can always see where Seiko put their solar cells, but with Citizen's EcoDrive, it's always much better integrated. So this is kind of a general recommendation like it was with the Casios. Buy the EcoDrive that appeals to you. But if I did have to endorse a single model, then it would be their classic ProMaster diver, the BN0150. You can pick these up for around $200 in a couple of different colors, and for that you are getting one of the best analog dialed actual dive watches, a proper dive watch that you can buy for a relatively modest sum. This thing will tick accurately and reliably for years, if not for decades. And not only that, it's a really nicely made watch. The case finish is fantastic. It's a fairly large watch at 43, but it's very slim, so don't be frightened of that diameter dimension. A Japanese classic. But not the only Japanese classic on today's list. At number 8, I'm going to recommend a JDM model, a Japanese domestic market watch, because we all know the Japanese keep the good stuff for themselves. Have a look at the Casio Oceanus range, a range of Japan-only, high-quality quartz watches from one of the best affordable watch brands, full stop. One of the very best Oceanus is the T200 model. There are 4 or 5 different versions, different color versions you can pick up, none of which should cost you more than about $350 US. And for that, the standard of finishing on these is outstanding. They've got great lume, they look fantastic, and they will just be a cornerstone of any affordable watch collection that they grace. The only problem with them is that you have to like blue. Blue is the Casio corporate color, and they put blue on every single one of these T200s, even the green one. Alright, at number 9, it's another high accuracy Swiss-made dive watch. It's the Certina DS Action Quartz. Certina is one of the lesser known Swatch Group products. For whatever reason, they don't inspire people in the way that Hamilton or Longines do, for example. But they've got some great watches in their catalogue, such as the Action Diver. Now, DS stands for double security. It's their own proprietary in-house shock and waterproof concept. And this watch uses the in-house ETA movements that they label as Pressy Drive to signify increased accuracy. These ones are rated at plus or minus 10 seconds a year, so perhaps not as super sharp as the Longines VHP, but more than accurate enough for most people. Once again, if you shop around, you should be able to find one for well under $500 US or in titanium for under $600 US. And rounding out today's list at number 10, it's a quartz chronograph featuring an ETA Pressy Drive movement. But this time it's not in a Swatch Group product. Instead, it's in a Christopher Ward, specifically their relatively new Valor. I reviewed this one a few months back and I was really impressed by the overall package. The Valor features one of CW's signature light catcher cases, arguably the nicest case you will find on an affordable watch. It comes with a choice of bracelets or rubber straps and is backed by one of the industry's best warranties with 60-day returns and a 60-month 5-year warranty on the movement itself. They're Swiss made and cost around $800 US on a bracelet, a little bit less if you want to go for one of their rubber straps. Now, it is slightly smaller than average at 39mm, so the bigger wristed may well be better served by the Lunar Pilot, but it's a great watch. Given the cost and complexity of mechanical chronograph movements, quartz chronos make a lot of sense unless you're spending big bucks, and this is one of the best quartz chronograph movements on the market. So there you have it. If you were already a fan of quartz, then I hope you found something here that tickled your fancy. And if you used to be a hater, perhaps you're now a lover. Remember, life's too short for hate, particularly when it is as misplaced as the hate that abounds for quartz. Is your favourite quartz watch not on today's list? Why not leave me a comment? There's always scope for another top 10 in the future. Thanks for making it all the way to the back end of the video. As discussed, why not check out my full reviews of the Hamilton PSR or the Bulova Lunar Pilot. I'll see you all again in the next one.